Action! Activate! What's up? It's me, Gazbot, and I'm here with, for Action Activate. But if I'm Gazbot and this is Action Activate, then I'm here with...
It is I. It is the big dog, here to talk about not Power Rangers today, but other suited up characters that are color-coded. We're here to talk about Tron.
Specifically Tron Ares. You know what's funny is I was like, all of my Tron stuff is downstairs. I'm not representing, but I'm wearing a Sark hoodie, so that works out.
So what we're going to do is we don't do movie reviews on here too often, but when we do, we try to have the first part just kind of be general, spoiler free, and then we will be very apparent when we will dive directly into spoilers.
Sounds good. We could talk. I'll play the trailer without sound under us.
Sure. So you are a massive Tron fan. I like to think I'm a pretty big Tron fan. You know a lot more of the lore than me. You were there for the first Tron, and I was not.
Sort of. I don't know if I ever saw it in the theater, but
you were in existence during the first Tron, and I was not.
Fair.
But we were both pretty excited for this. Had some mixed feelings because there were bits that we saw before actually seeing the film where we were a little bit nervous or skeptical. We both loved Tron Legacy. We both really enjoyed / loved the first Tron. And with all that in mind, what were your kind of knee-jerk thoughts after seeing this?
Well, and full disclosure, we had a short discussion about this already, so I am going to tell you what you already know the answer is. I was really worried it was going to be terrible, and it was not. It was good. I mean, you could argue, was it good? Was it great? Was it not that great? Whatever, but it wasn't horrible. And I think anybody that's saying it's terrible and horrible is they just, I don't know, they don't like Jared Leto or they don't like Tron or like it's not. There are plenty worse movies than this. Even just as a sci-fi action movie, it is at least fine.
Yep.
I think it's the worst of the three movies.
Yeah.
But I still liked it. And it was much better than I thought it was going to be, is the main thing. And expectation might have a lot to do with it. I don't know if I told you this, but when I was coming out, I was in the bathroom and I was washing my hands, and I probably had this hoodie on, and I had gotten the little arcade popcorn holder, and I was sitting there, and there was a guy that was like, Tron? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, did you see it? He's like, I just got out. I'm like, oh, me too. And he's like, what'd you think? And basically he was like, we both thought it was good, but he was coming in like, I can't wait. This is gonna be the best movie ever. And I said, and I found this out later because I said, well, I kind of went in thinking like it wasn't gonna be that great, and it was good, so I was happy. And he's like, oh yeah, I went in thinking it was gonna be like as good as Legacy or better. And he's like, and it was just okay. And I'm like, yeah. So we agree on how good it is, but where we started affected how we felt about it. And so, I think that's probably true for a lot of people.
Yeah. One thing for mine, one thing that affected my viewing is the sound mix on the theater I watched it in was all messed up.
What theater did you watch it in?
I watched it on the Disney cruise, which was very cool. Very cool experience. And again, just that little thing where like, I'm not trying to hold it against them, but the sound mix was so messed up where like the music sounded better than ever, arguably too loud.
Did they do anything special on the cruise? Like use red lights or give everybody a little something or no?
It is so fun story that I actually didn't share with you is going into the cruise. You have this app where like when you're on the cruise, they have like, I wouldn't even call it Wi-Fi. You have enough connection when you're in the middle of the ocean to only use their app on the boat.
Right.
And it tells you like, oh, each day there's this thing and you can plan ahead and you can look at each day and whatever. And the week before, 2 weeks before, the first few days on this 5-day cruise, nothing Tron. And I had heard from people who also asked in like a Facebook group about it, like, oh, do you think Tron's going to be on here? It's going to be coming out that week. Like usually they do stuff like this. Yeah. Nothing. Don't see anything. Don't see a poster on the boat. Nothing. And then it was a Halloween themed cruise. So partway through, they I think it was like the second night, they gave out these goodie bags, and all the goodie bags there was Tron Ares. And I'm like, okay, you can't just be giving away stuff with Tron on it and not have Tron in this on this boat. So eventually it was it was actually Thursday night. We went to see something at like 8:30 or 8 o'clock. And then I look and it shows show times for the theaters, because all the theaters are next to the movie theaters and like the Play Broadway theaters.
Right.
And we go to the Play Broadway one, and I look and I'm like, what? And I see Tron in the first one, 10:45 p.m. And I'm like, and this is East Coast time, and I am not from the East Coast. So I'm like, that's really late. That's gonna be tough because we've been waking up early every day. I was like, let me check tomorrow. And then they posted all times, and the next day they had
So if that was the only showing, you would have went to it. But since there was options,
miserable the next day. But yeah, they had a bunch the next day. So
I didn't have a problem with the sound mix. The music was loud for sure, but in a like seemingly intentional way. And there was no point where I'm like, what are they saying? What was that? Like I didn't have
this was like in the beginning, no problems.
Right.
And then like 20 minutes in, something got goofed, and like the music was crazy loud, and then
oh no, that was not my. And I saw it in IMAX, which is always louder anyway.
Even when they're yelling like this, and you're like, all right. Like when I see someone like, no, what are you doing?
Well, that just means you got to go see it again.
Yeah,
I want to go see it. I saw it in IMAX regular, but I want to go see IMAX 3D before I leave.
So I'm tempted. You and I have talked about it where we both have a hard time getting out to do fun things for ourselves, unless we make certain sacrifices or have things align. And not this week, but next week, the new Chainsaw Man movie comes out. And if it was between seeing that and seeing Tron again, I would 100% go see Chainsaw Man.
Gotcha.
But if I liked/loved this, I would possibly have a different answer.
If you liked/loved this?
I like this, but if it's like a like plus.
Gotcha. If you liked it more than you did, you're saying.
Correct. That's what I should say. All of that to be said, how I saw it, I did enjoy it. It was unfortunate that I didn't get the full like regular viewing of it. But with that in mind, for this movie specifically, if you can see it on a large screen, and if you're going to have sound problems, it's better that the music is too loud than the dialogue is too loud.
Okay, yeah, I can see why you say that.
Because it's like they're and this is in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler, but when they're using the motorcycles in the tank, that is crazy loud now with Nine Inch Nails blasting, and then they're like, whatever. The Nine Inch Nails is blasting, we're good.
It becomes a music video, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah, I from the trailer, I had some concerns, some of which were accurate. Like I was worried it was gonna be too much in the real world, which it was. I do think I would have preferred, but it wasn't as much as I thought. Like we did get more grid stuff than I thought we were going to get. I also got the vibe that like the grid was invading. Like we're coming to take over, because the shots and we're a little bit getting into spoiler territory here, but the shots in the trailer are like most of the shots of the invasion. And it's okay, we're going into spoiler territory.
Now,
spoiler. Because it's one rogue program being like, I'm going to bring in resources to go capture her, and that's what it's not about taking over the world. It's not about fighting but the trailers really make it seem, and maybe this is to appeal to like a broader audience. Like, look, it's like an alien invasion movie. It is not that, and I was happy because I was afraid that's what it was going to be. I unfortunately some things were spoiled. Like I kind of knew that Ares was if not going to turn good, at the very least, not like this evil villain through and through.
I figured that was going to have it without any spoilers. Like I just looking at it, I'm like,
sure, but I thought he would start off as a villain, like a real villain, and then maybe something, But from the very beginning, he was sort of like had pathos. I was like, oh, what are we doing here? Like almost immediately. I also, we all from the trailer knew, if you've seen the trailer, that Jeff Bridges was going to be in it, which is cool. But apparently that was not going to be spoiled. But I guess at some point, Jeff Bridges in an interview somewhere mentioned he was going to be in Tron. And so like, oh, well, I guess we'll put him in the trailers and like promote him then. But they were actually going to do the right thing and let that be a surprise. That being said, I had no idea they were going to go back to the 80s grid. And that was like, there was a lot of nostalgia nods and, lines from the other movies and throwbacks and stuff. But that one hit me because it was like when he jumped through the window and they digitized him, it was like a thing where like I kind of guessed like, well, is it going to be like old, and then he just smashed through. And I was like, oh, because it was like so sudden. I was like I actually like made some noise came out of my mouth. I was like, oh my gosh, like, and you could argue that whole thing was dumb and unnecessary, maybe, but I loved it.
Yeah, no, that was 100% like fan service, but in a way that like worked.
And that's go ahead.
I was gonna say, and I have a feeling too when they pitched it, I'm sure to Jeff Bridges, other than with a nice paycheck, I hope. It was like, hey, here's how we're gonna do it versus the last movie where you're kind of like grumpy old man Luke in the grid, where it's like you're just gonna be however you want. We're gonna give you lines, you present them however you'd like, and you're gonna wear this really comfortable robe.
And
he's
you're
like,
probably gonna
right.
shoot for 2 days.
Yep.
Yeah.
So so that part was cool.
And I did like there was kind of like Luke, like when I talk about the sequel trilogies, one of my favorite moments with Luke is when he's arguing with Yoda, because I feel like that is when Mark Hamill the most reminds me of Luke, where he's like, I haven't read the books, they're kind of just arguing, like I'm like that feels like the character. Similarly, even though in the last movie Jeff Bridges was like 15 years younger and more of like a character, there was a point, I don't remember what he said, but he laughed like, oh, far out, man. And he kind of laughed. I'm like, that sounds like 80s Flynn. That's he's like a little bit of himself again there. And I like that moment.
Yeah, no, the whole thing with him, I think Jeff Bridges made that scene well. Like if he went in and he kind of phoned it in, I don't think it would have hit the way it did.
Oh no, it must be Sark and the MCP. They don't want us to know what Flynn was gonna say. Well, hold on. I think Tron and Quora and Ares, I guess now is saving him and bringing him back.
Yeah.
Or it's just a little spinning wheel. Is that a light cycle wheel? I don't know. Maybe just one. How long can I keep talking like this?
I was going to say,
this sort of tone. It sounds like it's important. You better keep paying attention.
What are you doing?
I'm going to remove the big dog. Add to stage. No, the ninja dog is not coming back.
Can you see me?
Add to stage. Well, I will talk. Jeff Bridges, kind of blundered that. But the other thing is, and this is a lot of people said it, that Tron wasn't in it. That the actor who played Alan Brady, I think his last name was, and Tron, Bruce Boxleitner, was not in it. There have been like rumors circulating they had some kind of falling out with Disney. I don't know if that's true or what that's about. I know I like him as an actor. I don't mean this as an insult, but it's not like he's gotten tons of roles lately. And I don't think he would be adverse to coming back. He certainly came back for Legacy. He could have come back as Alan. He could have come back as Tron. He could have come back as a voice. If they
so picking up where we left off. So the Jeff Bridges made the whole scene. I think him, not phoning it in really made it better. If he did, I think that scene would have been wasted. Right. I asked you a lot of questions after because as somebody who's versed in Tron, I thought the grid was one thing. I didn't know there were multiple grids.
Well, it's funny because it all comes back to like the original Tron came out at a time when people didn't understand computers, like really at all. Like that, like scientists did, but like regular people didn't at all.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't magic. Like there was a laser and they kind of explained how he got sucked in, but it could have just been magic. It was like a million other 80s movies are like, oh, I got turned into a dog. Oh, my mom got teleported to Mars. Like just what it was that a guy gets sucked into a computer. And then they found ways to like make it sound like it makes sense. And so they continued that premise. And I think calling it the grid, it was just a way of describing that world inside it or whatever. And I'm trying to think if the grid was even a word in the first movie or if they introduced that for the second movie.
I think because you battle on the grid.
They may have used the word, but I definitely know they leaned into it in the second movie.
Where I think it was called the grid because when he got there, the floor is a grid.
I mean, there was a lot of, I don't know what you call it, but that like mesh, I think that's just like a construction tool of early graphics that they were using a lot.
Which is why I think it was called the grid was the reason.
I'm saying, and if tell us in the comments, I'm not saying that word wasn't used in the first movie. What I'm saying is my belief is that in the second movie, it starts with Jeff Bridges, both in the soundtrack and in the movie, being like the grid. I picture, and it's his way of describing essentially the first movie and what this thing is.
Yeah.
That being said, from the very beginning, I always understood the world they were in was like the first movie was like the computers in NCOM and they're like little network. And then in the second movie, Jeff Bridges is like, oh, I built my my own version of that and I ported Tron over, and it's still like doesn't mean
Clue.
it's he didn't port Clue. He made a new Clue.
Oh, he made Clue. That's right.
Yeah, he created Clue in the first movie. It was more of a standard program that was like going to try to save his statements or whatever, that is proof. The second one, it was more like this super, hey, you're me, and I'm giving you powers beyond a regular one or whatever. But yeah, he made his own network, essentially, his own internet, however you want to call it. But I didn't get the impression, like in the first movie, they were talking about like, oh, I'm going to go get these Chinese language files and I'm going to attack the Pentagon and all this. But it was still like through a modem to other computer systems. He was going there, the MCP. In the second movie, it seemed like it was a closed system that Flint had created. And in the third movie, and I know I kind of already said this, it was like, oh, he has his closed system, which became the NCOM system.
Yeah.
And then Dillinger built their own system. But the way I always understood it, if Tron World is real, right? And maybe out there's a real NCOM fighting it, like my computer has people in it, and the internet has people in it. And like, like any system has like characters in it that are alive. We just aren't aware of it, and they may not all be connected to each other. And so Dillinger's grid was all red because it was like run like boom, security. It's the only thing that matters, blah, blah, blah. And we're military. And so like that was the dominant thing. Whereas NCOM was all about like science and free thinking and like let's make trees. And so it was more blue and whatever. And then the old grid on his backup on his computer was like that original NCOM one from the first movie. So it was like crummy and just barely could hold him.
But then when they had the scene where Ares and his team went to the NCOM grid, it was like they showed up and immediately they're like, there's intruders. It wasn't like, why are there new people that I've never seen in this grid? Right. It was, oh, we're going to this other grid and we're doing this, where that kind of opens that door where I'm like, so why are we not seeing cross grid stuff more, or why is it not talked about more? Like,
I think that there's an awareness that it can happen, but it's illegal. Like, remember the Gillian Anderson character, Dillinger's mom, was like, what are you doing? You're breaking, because he's doing corporate espionage.
Yeah.
He's hacking. And like, these are things that can happen. And NCOM knows this. So they have security programs, which got destroyed, but that's what those were security programs. So they are aware these things can happen. So they weren't like, whoa, what is this? We never thought of this, but it shouldn't be happening. And it's kind of a big deal. And that's why he was like being shown to be off the rails. And like, that's why I think that was like that. My bigger complaint was they know these things can happen. And all they had was these sort of like basic security programs. They had a lot of them, but it was like, that's it. And even after the first 5 went down and like the humans in the real world raised the alarm, I thought if Tron was going to show up, that's when he would show up. Maybe he loses. Maybe he's not even the original Tron, but like the NCOM, here's our Ares. You know what I mean? And that never happened.
A program come out, masked or not, and they go vroom, and they split the discs, and that didn't happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, no. And I guess maybe the argument is like, well, if we're not going to have Tron, we better not have anybody. But it's like that scene is one of my biggest problems with the movie, like just in terms of story, is that there should have been a better security, because NCOM, it's not nobody. Like, they're the rival to Dillinger, and they're winning. Like, they should have good security and make it better so that it's more impressive when Ares wins. But they just like blew through everybody,
Or also just have like characters. Like, that whole scene confused me where they're like, here's an actor that a lot of people know. They're dead.
Yeah, there's speculation that maybe it was supposed to be a bigger part and other scenes were cut out, or if there's a sequel, maybe he somehow comes back. If it's not that, then it's literally, was he just a fan?
Because they said, they're like, why they dedicated part of a scene of like, hey, why aren't you bringing what's his name back from Jedi Survivor? They're like, nah, that program sucked. Just you and Athena are here.
Yes, yeah, but I mean, arguably, again, big spoilers now. At the end of the credit scene, when Dillinger is becoming Sark, part of his thing is like rebuilding. He could bring that guy back better than before. Like, there's a way to bring anybody back in this world.
Yeah, my thing, speaking of the ending, I loved the 2 things at the end where he's like, now we're going to reference Sam and Cora.
Yes.
And we're going to show an old identity disc that we haven't really shown in a while. And now you're going to look totally different. And all that was great. My argument is, if you could put it at the end, why couldn't you put it in the middle and then we just build off of it from there?
Well, the Sark thing could have been in the middle. Like him getting the old disc, that could have been in the middle. I think they just wanted to set up the sequel, like a different sort of thing. The Sam and Cora, they didn't have those actors. Why? We don't know. But putting it in the middle, you would need the actors. At the end, you could just use a picture. Like
they still could have done it in the middle and still not shown them, because the other thing that frustrates me from 2 was the biggest breakthrough of 2 was they're like, We have ISOs. They're programs that made themselves. It's this whole thing, and it's crazy. And that doesn't get brought up. All we're
They say
talking
she's a
about,
special program, I think is all they say, or something like that. Yeah.
no, she was the only ISO that lived because Clue eradicated the
I'm
ISOs.
not talking about 2. I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm saying in 3, they never say the word ISO, but they like say something about how she's a special program, which is like, okay, we're not going to say ISO. Okay.
The thing that now looking back at it is a bigger critique is if the whole point was everybody was racing for the permanence code, why was it not brought up like, oh, didn't you see I found this old file from Flynn where he was talking about programs that like lived on their own or something. Like, have you looked into that?
Well,
also,
this is another, and this didn't bother me while I was watching the movie, but it's like an after thing. The permanence, the implication is that Flynn created the permanence code in the 80s before he got stuck in the grid in the second movie. So maybe not 82, but like sometime between the first movie and when he got stuck in the grid is when he made the permanence code. So he didn't know about ISOs yet, and that was until he wouldn't have written about ISOs in any of his stuff. So that makes sense why we didn't hear about ISOs. What doesn't make sense is how did Flynn in 1985, let's say, know that he'd need a permanence code for when programs come out of the computer? And then it's like, oh, or was it this ghost of Flynn that created it? And then it starts getting a little winky wonky if you think about it too much.
Yeah, or it could be a thing like we theoretically know how to make the nuclear bomb. We just don't have the technology to do it.
Right. If he's that much of a super genius. Actually, I watched a review, Red Letter Media, Half in the Bag. I watched a review they did, and I thought they were going to rip it apart because they usually, but they generally were kind of talking like us, like, oh, it was actually pretty good and stuff. But it was, we have you who's like a fan and me who's like a super fan. They had you as like a regular fan, and then the main guy who plays Plinkett had never seen a Tron movie, doesn't know anything about it. And the fan was like, so I liked it, but a lot of what I liked about it was like the callbacks to the other movie, and I kind of knew where we were going. He's like, was it just like made no sense to you? And the other guy's like, no, I followed it perfectly fine. They had the little exposition in the beginning and blah blah. And so the worry is that like Tron movies are like inaccessible, and that this one be even more inaccessible. But he's like, no, I mean, he's like, it was fine. It was like an action sci-fi movie. I totally got it. And he had a couple quibbles and problems with it, but like, I forgot why I brought this up, but as someone who had never seen either of the other movies and only kind of knew what it was by living in the world, he was able to enjoy it maybe more because he wasn't like, he's like, oh, Flynn's this genius, he made it. And he wasn't like, wait, when did, like, he didn't have the questions of the other two movies. So he just like went with whatever they said, like, okay, this is what's going on.
That's how I felt in 2, though, because I had never seen the original. I had only seen Legacy, and that's how I felt going into that. And I appreciated the backstory, and it made me want to go back and see more stuff. But with this, like, all of that stuff aside, accessing it new, I didn't care about 90% of the characters in this movie.
Yeah, especially the programs. The only program they like, Athena was kind of a character, and Ares.
Yeah.
All the rest either literally had no faces or might as well have had no faces.
Yeah.
That's something else that occurred to me, like, again, later on, was the whole idea of like, you write a program, it looks like you. Now it changes if like different people work on it or it becomes big or whatever. But like, there was no version of a human, a user, and a program in the whole movie. And I liked the performance by Quicksilver. What's his name?
Yeah, Evan Peters.
Evan Peters. He did a fine job. This is not a slight on him. And I like him as an actor way more than Jared Leto.
100%.
But I think Jared Leto in this role was like, okay, he did fine for what this role was. So what I'm going to say sounds weird based on what I said about the actors, but I feel like it would have made more sense if Jared Leto played the grandson of Dillinger and was like the human. And then those scenes where he's like, you must listen to me, would be even more cool because he'd be like arguing with himself almost, And I guess the argument is that this is one of those programs that's so built in advance that it's not any one person or whatever. Or maybe it's a commentary on like, Elon Musk, how like, oh, well, he's saying he created it, but really like this other guy that works for him created it. They didn't get into that. But same thing with Lee. What was her? Kim? What was her name? Not Eve Lee.
Yeah.
We saw her as a user, but we never saw a program she made. And like, so it was just, I realized again after the fact that like, oh, not once did we see a human in the real world and then on the grid. And not that you need that for the movie, but it's just like, oh, hey, we didn't see that at all. Although, did we see that? Oh, we saw Clue. Yeah, we had Clue, I
guess. What was I going to say? What'd you think of the aesthetics of the weapons and characters and vehicles and stuff versus Legacy?
I mean, they were Legacy. I mean, there were slight tweaks, but
I
the
I
same
think
basic design aesthetic was there.
I think they were good. This just showed me how great the Legacy ones were.
Oh, Legacy is a better movie by a mile.
No,
Just
no,
to be
no.
clear.
Just aesthetically, the costumes, because some behind the scenes stuff for those
Yeah,
that don't know. So the reason these looked so much more like suits that people were wearing is because they are.
right.
In Legacy, they made them look so like fitted and like it was created for like
Yeah.
a lot more immersive in the world of Tron is because they use like literal like balloon material and
I
all
heard
this stuff
it
that was
sprayed
so
it on
tight.
spandex. Yeah.
Yeah, that they had to build ports so they would put cooling fans
Oh, because they
so
were
that
almost like airtight.
they were airtight and they couldn't take them off. You had to wear them all day.
Right.
You put the cooling fans and they couldn't sit in them. So they
Mhm.
had these boards that they built for everybody and they tilt them back if they wanted to rest in between
Right.
takes because it was so tight and stuff. And everybody hated them, but they looked amazing. And
Right.
they had built-in LEDs that were like a million
Did this
LEDs.
not have built-in LEDs?
These ones didn't. No.
I assumed it'd be easier with the more armor-looking pieces to get some like real
I
lights in
mean,
there.
I think they just did CGI because if they did do LEDs, these looked nowhere near as good
I
as
assumed
Legacy.
they did because I knew they used real LEDs in Legacy, and this being a bulky. I mean, I've seen people at conventions that have armor with LEDs in it. So I'm like, well, clearly they could do that.
I mean, maybe they did, but these looked good.
Okay,
Legacies
so
looked
okay,
great.
with the suits, with the weapons, with the vehicles, all that stuff, I agree. Legacy looked better. What I was saying was, and this was another one of my complaints, even from the beginning, which I still maintain. Whatever you think of these movies, the first Tron had a unique visual design and sound, and like it was this thing onto itself. Legacy came out, even though it was continuing Tron, had a unique visual look, and it was a world onto itself. This one came out, and it was sort of like, hey, remember Legacy? Kind of doing that, and that's what I meant. Like the bikes, the trails, the suits, they were all like a slight variation on what we had seen in the other movie. Um, Possibly worse. But like, yeah, I that bummed me out. That I was like, I would hope that if nothing else, it would be a new look, and it wasn't.
What'd you think of the fights? I'm more critical of this, but I'm curious your opinion.
I thought they were fine. I think they were. My critique is less about the choreography and that kind of stuff. Like I've heard people say it's not that great, and it was good enough for me who doesn't know fights. I did like the staffs with the energy ribbons. I
Yeah,
thought
that
that
was
was a
cool.
cool new thing. Um, I think there's an argument that can be made that the choreography could have been better or the directing could have been better. But for me, I was thinking about it. It's most of the fights, for the most part, I didn't care. Going back to what you were saying, like Ares and his squad invading the Encom Tower, I didn't care about any of that. And so it comes back to like characters and writing, where it's like very rarely was I super invested on who's going to win this fight, or it was Ares and I knew he's going to win because he's the only character. It's not like, oh well, there's like five people and maybe one might not make it. It's like so whatever else could be improved, if they had made me care more about the characters and the stakes in those moments, I think the action would have been fine.
Yeah. I think of that fight, and there were parts I definitely liked because it's really the best fight in the movie, and it's arguably the shortest. But yeah, when you see like 100 programs come up and
Oh,
it's 10 minutes in the movie, I'm like, all right. I feel it reminded me actually, funnily enough, and I haven't watched these in a while, but it reminded me of Lord of the Rings when a bunch of the orcs come and they have to pick them all off.
yeah,
And I was like, oh, cool. Like it reminded me of that. And then the execution was nowhere near. Um,
yeah. Well, and
he,
actually, oh, sorry, finish your thought.
he like two tapped everybody. He had his weird, goofy disc that like killed like 50 programs at once. You're like, okay.
I mean, I took it that he was like a super soldier amongst programs, and fine, whatever.
But the way he did it didn't feel that like when I think of stuff like that, I think of like Captain America. Even if he mows down all these people, when you do it, you're like, wow, he's powerful, he's cool, he's strong. This felt like you kind of easy buttoned it for him, and like I didn't get a lot out of it. He didn't do anything. He
Because
threw this,
because the writer said he will be successful and he defeats people easily, as opposed
yeah,
to showing how he does
yeah,
it.
like he moved around and did some parkour and stuff, and then he had his big old goofy disc, and he threw it, and then he caught it, and that was it. Not like Captain America's shield where it does all this and it has the effects, and
Right.
he picks it up, and like it was just, rink. All right, cool. Wait, what do you mean? All of my squad is dead. Ah, feelings.
I That didn't bother me as much as it bothered you. I'm not saying you're wrong, but uh, what I was saying before, that scene was one of my least favorite parts of the movie, and part of it was because what I had said before. The other part is, and like the more I thought about it, the less sense it made. So they won. They easily won. One member of the squad is injured, not even killed. He's like, "Well, I'll carry you out. Let's go." And everyone else in the squad is flying away. They already left the tower. And Ares is like, "Let me carry you." And then Dillinger's like, "All right. Well, I guess what is he? He's going to drop the payload." And he has some quote about like, you got to scramble some eggs. He doesn't say that, but something like break some eggs to make an omelet. And he drops this essentially nuclear bomb, which blows up the tower. And Ares and his buddy who are still on the tower, and everybody else who was already out of the tower, and just like, so it was like, wait, what was the point of that fight at all?
Yeah.
Like, what should have happened, again, fixing it with writing, make them not be mowing these people down. Like maybe the first couple, yeah, because they're stronger one-on-one, but then there's like 20, 30, and so one guy gets his leg chopped off, another guy falls, and then his whole squad's falling apart, and maybe Ares is kind of doing okay, but they're losing. Then Dillinger's like, well, you know what? I'm just going to kill him. And then it's like, oh, that was like kind of cutthroat and mercenary and cold-blooded, but it like strategically made sense.
Yeah.
But otherwise, he's just like, what? He didn't need to do that, or he could have waited a minute till they flew away.
Yeah, it was just another like, you guys are expendable, whatever. Like that was the thing they were trying to drive home. It's like,
yes,
you kind of showed that. So death's meaningless.
Yeah, and death can be meaningless. I mean, he didn't re-res the one guy because he failed fine. But like, I've seen enough war movies to see soldiers get that moment where their commanding officer like doesn't care and drops the napalm and it kills their buddy and they're like, oh, I don't believe in the cause anymore. But that's not what they did. It was like they did it, but it wasn't even like from a certain point of view the command made sense. In no point of view did the command make sense. They could have just let them all escape and then blow it up. Like, I mean, yeah. So that, I feel like we're really nitpicking on, but I want to go back to saying I went in thinking I might not like this movie, and I did enjoy it. I did have fun with it. Jared Leto, I've only seen him in a few movies, but this is definitely my favorite movie I've ever seen him in. I think
it's not my favorite of his, but
what's your favorite? Morbius?
I actually still haven't seen it. No,
I haven't either. Actually,
my thing I always think of. I really liked him in Lord of War with Nicolas Cage.
Okay,
that's a good movie. And it's funny because it's his character in that is the opposite of this.
Oh yeah. But Ares, yeah, okay,
yeah, but I mean, he was decent in Fight Club, but I think, objectively speaking, I think he is a good actor. He's Academy Award nominated, I believe, and stuff. I don't think
for Dallas Buyers Club, he was good in that.
Yeah. I don't think he's a good person. I think him being attached to this both made it happen and made it not as successful at the same time.
Yeah, for those that don't know, he was like a producer. He put money in. He worked on it for like 9 years. So there's an argument to be made that this movie wouldn't exist without him.
Yeah.
And there are some people who are like, well, I'd rather not have a movie. As of October 2025, there is no proven things against him that make him so horrible that it's like I couldn't see this movie. So we're in a specific moment in time where, as far as I know, he's just kind of a crummy guy, but nothing, illegal or whatever. That being said, I would not have wanted to remain the character, and maybe this isn't the Tron sequel I would want. But to say I'd rather have no movie is just petulant and like ridiculous. Like any Tron anything keeps the brand alive, and if it was going to be nothing, you'd really, you're a Tron fan, you'd rather have nothing, really, because then you wouldn't be getting these Tron Legacy figures. I can tell you that, so.
Yeah, if anything, if this movie gave us those 6-inch Tron Legacy figures we've been wanting.
It definitely did.
No, I'm saying if that's what it took, then yeah, sure. And we saw it, whatever. But yeah, if my big thing, and this is a similar takeaway I had from the 2017 Power Ranger movie, I will like this better if there is a sequel. I will like it worse if there is not.
I agree. And both of us have commented on this before about like, it feels like the marketing was terrible.
Oh, awful. It seems like they didn't even want to take it out.
People didn't know it was coming out. And like the cross promotion stuff, I feel like now that it's out, I'm seeing more cross promotion than before. And we're looking for it. We're Tron nerds, It's like at Disney, they had a few things at Disney Florida. They had a few things like on the Tron ride where there's like some like so you could be read now, and they have a little thing, and like there's like the disc and like one other thing in the store. In California, nothing. On your cruise, nothing other than hey.
I specifically looked. I don't know how difficult it is to just put 2 things. You don't even need a lot. There was 0 things for me to buy for Tron.
Yeah. And from my understanding, there's not much more in Florida. They did release some pins and they sold out immediately, which sounds like, wow, what a demand. They probably made 5 and just like, oh, there we go. Hot Topic has some merch, not a lot. And the main thing I wanted was the hoodie. I went there, they didn't have it. I looked online, they didn't have it. So you know what I did? This is a Sark hoodie I got 15 years ago when Legacy came out, and I bought it off of some Etsy seller that made their own. I found an Etsy seller making Ares hoodies, so I bought an Ares hoodie off of Etsy. I wanted to buy it from Hot Topic, but I couldn't. They don't have it, so it's weird. And people at Hasbro, they have the Legacy figures and they have the HasLab for the 375, 307 that for the original Vintage Tron. As far as I can tell now, they still have no Ares figures. And like, it's going to be weird if like wave 2 of the 6-inch line is like, oh, and here's Ares. Like, really? Like now? Like, it's just weird. It's almost weirder that there is a little bit of merchandise and there is a little bit of cross promotion. Not nearly enough, but it's coming out sort of as the movie comes out or after, whereas usually it's before. And so it's very strange.
Yeah, for people, I'm sure similar to us, we want to support this in ways that we can so we could show, hey, we care. Please make more stuff. And we're willing to give you money for things, even if we're vaguely interested. You could get us with the hype as it's coming out or about to come out.
I bought the popcorn bucket for $34.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
Yeah, and the fact that it's only in Florida where you dedicated a spot in your theme park for a ride, but you won't put anything anywhere else.
Even if they took the same merchandise that's in that store, it's the Rinsler, not the Rinsler, it's the Ares disc, a white Flynn disc. Those are the two main things. And there might have been a shirt and a couple pins, which the pins might be hard to get. But they could just put those discs in California. I live about an hour to 2 hours away from Disney. My birthday's coming up next weekend. Theoretically, I could say, hey, for my birthday, let's all go to Disney. And if there was any Tron anything there, that's what I would say I want to do. Yeah. But without that, I'm like, I was there not that long ago. It's kind of expensive. I don't need to go back. But like literally they could get a family of 3 or 4 to go to Disney if they had a disc for me to buy. Like that's all it would take. And they can't even do that.
Yeah, it's infuriating. And I was there a month ago and I was like, oh, let me see if there's anything and I could tell you. And then maybe you go so you could get it or I could send it to you. So we're trying to Hasbro and Disney.
Yeah.
We give you money in so many ways. And we're trying to give you more. And you just won't let us. And I don't understand why. But like those Legacy figures
they look great. I'm going to buy all of them and the Light Cycle. The 9 Inch Nails soundtrack was good. It was good. It really is like if it wasn't part of the bigger Tron universe, I think it would be better or easier to accept, because like there's expectations. And I realized one of the words that I apply to the other 2 movies that I would not apply to this movie is immersion. The other 2 movies, you start off in the real world, and then once you go into the computer, everything's different. The visuals are different, the sound's different, and you're in there and you just feel like you're in this other world, and then you come back to the real world. This one cut back and forth so much that I did get more grid than I thought I would, but it didn't give me that same sense of immersion because I'd be like, oh yeah, okay, now we're on the street and there's a cop. Oh, okay, now we're in the, okay, a computer hacker. And like, I didn't like that. And I understand why they did it because they wanted to keep both plot lines alive. But I'd rather 2 plot lines in the grid if we had to do that.
This was like a made for TV Terminator movie that was family friendly that they slapped a Tron skin on.
I wouldn't go that far, but I understand what you're saying.
That's how it felt.
I also wonder if budget was part of it, where they were like, hey, we can't have as much in the Tron universe.
They spent over $150 million.
But I don't know what Legacy cost, but I bet you it costs more, especially adjusted. So I mean that might have been part of it. It might have been a constraint they couldn't do anything about. Oh, this is a weird little nitpick, and I haven't gone back and watched Legacy or the original movie since I saw Ares. I rewatched them like this month. The first scene or 2 where we're in the grid and you see Ares getting killed and beat up and all this, and there were a lot of credits popping up. And again, that immersion thing, I'm like, I kept noticing the credits instead of being like, I'm in the computer. And I don't remember that in the other 2 movies. Like they had credits in the beginning, but I don't remember them it was like a TV show or something.
The beginning of Legacy is Flynn talking to Sam for the last time, and it shows little Easter eggs and stuff from the grid. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to take you someday. I just got to go. And then he gets stuck.
Right.
And then it shows all the stuff of like, oh, Sam is doing this and he's a teenager and now he's an adult. And it does that during the credits. So that makes it
Yeah.
easier. I
Yeah, 'cause
don't
I
remember
mean,
the original.
you know what? In the original, they probably had the credits over the real world stuff where Flynn's just playing in the arcade or stuff where it seems appropriate because that's the real world.
Yeah.
And I imagine if they had, because they had the same montage of stuff in this movie, if the credits had stuck to that, it probably wouldn't bother me as much. But something about being in the computer world and seeing credits from our world, it took me out of it a little bit. It's a
Also,
small thing, but
I felt like the grid in both other movies seems so vast,
yeah.
and this had the most amount of grids and felt the most compact.
Because there was no travel. There almost no travel. There was like just a couple locations. The only travel we really saw was when he was on the boat, but it was all in water and under a tunnel. We didn't see the rest of the world. And this again, I think, comes back to budget. They designed a couple places and they didn't design a whole world with a million things. And I just found this out recently that was it Joseph Kalinsky? I can never know how to pronounce his name. The director of the first Tron movie, who went on to do Top Gun Maverick and all these other movies. And like, it's such a shame because he wanted to do another Tron and he didn't get to do it. And it's like, oh my gosh. But apparently he was a visual effects or a visual designer before becoming a director. So when he went into Tron, he's like, I have a lot of ideas of how this is going to look, and I understand where this apartment for Flynn is going to be, and like a lot of that. Not that he literally did the designs. I mean, there was a team, but he knew how it worked and he had a vision. And I'm not saying anything bad about this director, but he might have just approached it like, okay, well, this is Tron, and that's what that looks like, and he didn't have this like picture in his mind of this whole world, and it shows.
Yeah. Similar to other reviews, we were hypercritical on a lot of things because we care and we like the property we're reviewing.
I would still recommend people see it, especially on the
Yeah.
big screen.
Yes,
It is a movie that will do well on the big screen.
even story aside, because it's not the best story in the world, visually, it is one of those seeing it in a movie theater eating popcorn is
Yes.
the move.
And in IMAX, where I saw it, it wasn't 3D, but it was that kind of thing where when you see it, when it felt, there's like, oh, here it comes. Yeah.
But if we'll wait a couple weeks, see if they say anything about a sequel not happening or happening, and we'll go from there. But
I mean, I don't know if they'll announce it that soon, but I do know that they're not happy with the opening weekend box office. And, usually these things don't continue to go up unless there's a big word of mouth or whatever. And it's a bummer because I'm on some Tron groups on Facebook and stuff, and it's like, again, there's a lot of people that are like, I'd rather no Tron. I don't want to see it. I refuse. I was like, what? Why? Like, I don't understand that at all. Like, you're not even going to give it a chance. Like, so yeah. Hopefully, regular non-fans will give it a chance because apparently, at least according to the guy from Red Letter Media, it's accessible and it's fine, and you don't need to see the other movies. And I don't think you need to see the other movies actually. So.
You don't. At the end, it's like, what is that for? And then that's it. They literally don't talk about anything other than Flynn made this grid once.
Yeah.
But other than that, I have been the big dog.
I continue to be Gazbot.
And to the power. See y'all later.
Yeah, everybody, let me get up I am not ready for the end credits. You kind of caught me.
Unless you're in the grid.
Assuming they stick to just Legacy with that 6-inch line, and assuming they're going to only make one more wave of 4 more figures, 4 figures.
Great question. The Michael Shannon character for sure. Zeus, yeah. Want him. We already got a Clue. We already got a Flint. I mean, we got Korra, obviously.
Okay.
Trying to think who else was in it other than just like a random person that died.
It could also be a type of trooper. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, if you just did 2 more troopers, I'd be fine. If you made a 2-pack with Korra or Zeus and Zeus's assistant, that'd be cool too. She aesthetically, she was cool. She was all white.
Okay. Gem that put on the suits.
Yes.
Yeah. Korra, Zeus, Gem. I agree with those 3. There was Clue's sidekick, the kind of the squirrely guy with the little faceplate that got derezed. I would take him, but he's not like he was not in my top 4. Those are the 3 main characters I think you're right that were like missing. I would say I want like a Tron, but the Rinsler comes with a Tron head, So I plan on buying 2 and putting the Tron head on one and repainting it to be white. Boom, there's Tron.
Yeah.
You know?
The thing that is great and terrible about this wave is all the things of like they included the accessories and the extra head and stuff. I'm like, that's great. But if you guys are doing this as like a one and done, I need a Korra though.
That's why I think there has to be at least one more wave. Or maybe the wave will have 6 figures or 7 figures or whatever, because you can't not have Korra. That makes no sense. I could also see them doing another Flynn using almost the same figure, but with the white robes instead.
Yeah, I would do that. Or you can gatekeep Korra with the 2-pack, and I'll buy that too.
Yeah, same. I would see putting her with like just a troop builder. You could do Daft Punk. That'd be fun.
That would be fun.
Because they're technically in the movie.
Yeah, but they're broken up, so I don't know how the rights would work.
I know in Fortnite they have Daft Punk skins right now. So
oh, well, then
they're broken up, but I don't think they're not taking money for their likenesses.
That is fair.
I would like, again, this is like not top list, but like if I needed that 4th slot, I wouldn't mind a young Kevin Flynn / Clue with like the leather jacket with the stripe.
Yeah.
That would actually be a cool pack. Have them like almost the same with like the little mirror thing between them. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. That'd be like they're not going to do an exclusive for Tron.
I also, and nobody would want this but me, but an Alan, like real life older Alan with his trench coat, like I would buy that in a second, but I know that'd be a peg warmer.
My question to you, do you remember?
This is all after the credits, I just realized.
Yeah. Do you remember what the colors mean? I know blue is like, I thought originally blue, obviously good, red, bad.
Yeah.
And then Clue was the only yellow one, right?
Well, he was like kind of green, and then he was orangish yellow. Like that was weird. Like in the first movie, I always picture him being green.
Yeah.
And he's not, but he is like in the beginning, he's like in the tank, he looks green. And maybe that's the lighting. But then when he gets caught, it's more of like a yellowish orange.
And then he's yellow in Legacy.
Yes. And they modeled him, I guess, more on that sort of later version. I always took it as just to kind of like Mace Windu's lightsaber. Like, oh, let's show that he's special. He was programmed by Kevin Flynn, and he's not a user, but he's beyond a regular. But that's kind of how I always took it. But I've never read or seen anybody explain it in a real way.
But haven't we also seen in either the show or in the background of Legacy, like greenish aqua colored characters?
In Uprising, you mean when you say show?
Yes.
I watched most of that 15 years ago, so I don't remember most of it. I recently rewatched the first 3 episodes. There are characters that have different colors, but it feels more random. It feels more just like, hey, people have different colors. It's like the world, like I don't know that there's anything attached to it. I think originally in the very first movie, they said blue is good, red is bad, and then Clue is special. And I think from there, it's sort of like making up mythology around it maybe, but yeah. Yeah, this is all after the credits. So